Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, a place to discuss pain, passion, and pursuits.
I want to feel alive.
Breathe.
Make some moves.
Protect the throne. This is Sexy Freedom Media Podcast.
Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. It's your girl, Helen Edwards-Ann.
January Liddell, aloha.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about life unfiltered, lessons, triumphs, and turning points. And we're going to do a little bit of reflection for this past year, the 2024 year, and we're going to maybe get into our reflection can help you in 2025. So January, what's up?
2024. This was a year of the dragon. So dragon in Chinese zodiac culture. So technically it was my year because I'm born in the year of the dragon. And I was so excited about all the different things that were going to happen in 2024. And I had very ambitious goals. One of them was writing a book. So I did write a book, finally, thank God. So that's one of my accomplishments. I did continue on in the finance industry. However, there were different things that happened, a lot of different challenges that happened. I feel like this year, 2024, has been a year of growth for me. Even though I may have been hibernating in a cave and healing from the sickness that I had from May to August, I still feel like I grew a lot this year. So a lot of lessons in terms of being an entrepreneur, what it means to be an entrepreneur, lessons of an author. That's a whole nother story and a whole nother world that I dived into and I really love. And there's lessons in that as well. And then of course, my faith. So my faith was also challenged this year, and it was challenged in a good way. And I say that because I used to be the girl that had to go to church. You have to go to church every single Sunday. That was so important to me. Praying and devotions are a non-negotiable. So that's something that I do every day. However, the actual idea of going to church was a little bit non-existent for me this year. And I'll say this because during the time that I was healing, of course, I just stayed home. So stayed home healing, and I did a lot of reflection, and I'm realizing that God is in so many different things, not just a church, not just a structure or a building, but in so many different people and art and nature and all different circumstances. And so my growth has been an internal growth from within, and I am curious. I am a more curious type of person now, asking, what does it mean? What does it mean to be a Christian? What does it mean to have faith in God? What does it mean to just be human, be human? And I think that was the one other thing that I learned is that I gave myself grace. Grace. A lot of this year was about grace, forgiveness, and healing. That was for me. So Helen, what about you? What was your lessons and triumphs for the year?
I got to tell you, first of all, thank you for sharing a little bit about this year for yourself. But becoming an author for you was such a huge deal. I mean, let's not make it small because that's so huge. It's so impactful. You were able to publish your book, your first children's book, and get it into a few indie bookstores. That in itself is really huge. And it wasn't on the island only. It was what I think it was Indiana and Wyoming, right?
Correct. That's correct. You're right. I didn't mean to downplay it, but you're right. I did downplay it because I'm like, it's nothing. It's just get your books out there. Actually, it took a lot. And you're an author. It takes a lot of work to be an author and to be in this world because we're in charge of the marketing unless we hire a team of marketers. All the authors who do write, it's really up to us. So yes, you're
Yes.
absolutely right. Thank you for acknowledging that.
Yes, my purpose of mentioning that was to make sure everybody knows that you downplayed it. I'm just kidding. I'm just giving you shit. No, but really, I think about my own journey when I first published my book, and you never forget that first year. You don't even think about the month. It's more about the year. That year you became an author is so powerful. And I became an author in 2017, and it's like, look, I remember, boom, 2017. It's so impactful and it changes your whole course of life, which I know for you, you've got more books coming out in the series. So I'm excited about that too. And actually, just to share my own story about what happened this year is I was just this morning writing down all of the books that I read this year. And in my mind, I was like, okay, let's sit down. I got this. Probably about 15 books. Girl, I'm telling you, I think I put down 9 books. I was like, I didn't even make 10 books. Like, how is that possible? There has to be a 10th. So I've been searching everywhere because I usually post it on Facebook for that 10th book. But I will say your book made the list. Alina the Super Saver by January Liddell. I was like, yes, that counts because I remember when I got it. I read it. It took me like 10 minutes and I was like, oh, this is so good. So, yes, one of the books. So yeah, that was one of my big achievements this year was to finish reading. I'm going to say 10. Let's just round it off, okay? I know the 10th book is there. I just haven't found it yet in my memory bank. 10 books this year, and they were all very life-changing, motivating, and inspirational books. Except 2 were fantasy books. So it was my first time ever reading fantasy books this year. And I gotta say, I read 2, so that tells me that I'm on to a new genre in my life. But some big things that happened for me this year was one, I got married on a cruise ship with 55 of my friends around, which was phenomenal. For 8 days, we got to sail with friends and family. And that in itself was just such a memory for us, just such a powerful. I know I'm using the word powerful a lot because this year for me was very, very powerful in getting married to the man I love and also letting go. Oh my gosh, I let go of so many things this year. One of them is letting go of the uh, title of financial strategist. I let go of my insurance license. And the prior year, I let go of my LLC, Sexy Freedom LLC. And I just thought, again, I'm letting go of something again. But I'm somebody who is very determined, always has to have something to look forward to, drive towards. And I just realized here I go again, putting something on my plate that I don't feel in my heart that this is the path I want to see long term for myself. And when you're somebody who is a hoarder of whether it's titles, things in your house, relationships, it could be anything. You can become a hoarder of anything. It kind of takes space, takes space up in your life. And then you don't have room for anything else that really should be there that is meant for you. So, a big thing for me was letting go of the financial strategy journey. And oh my gosh, let me tell you, I really embraced this year the idea of everything you want is already here. Now, I'd already been practicing that simple mantra for years and years and years. But let me tell you, it's almost like the words itself expanded in my life. And you know how you have roots in your life? Well, those roots went deeper in my life of everything you want is already here. And I started realizing, yeah, it's just about creating space in your life for it.
I agree. That was the one thing that when I let go of the idea of going to church and feeling that obligation to go, I realized that there was more space, more energy for something else. And I feel as human beings, we limit ourselves. We limit ourselves to what society tells us or what we are subconsciously being told, right? To be a certain way or to do certain things and to follow. I know when I was younger, I want to get married at 25, have a, have children, have a house with a white picket fence. I mean, these are all ideas that float around in our brains, but this past year, I feel for both of us, the whole idea of letting go was for me as well. I let go of a lot of different things, such as my faith, and that's a huge thing for me. And not that I let go of faith, because faith is still a part of me, but I let go of the idea of having to please everybody, having to please the people at my church. And I love the folks at my church, they're family. But I questioned, why am I going to church for God or am I going church for them, And I really needed to sit still. And that was the other thing, just sitting still and being okay with the idea of not really going to an organized type of religion or organized type of a setting. I still go every now and then, but it's my choice and it's not because I feel obligated to go. But I feel like this is something that my heart needed, or needs at the time. And the whole idea of letting go is huge for us, Helen, and it's huge for everybody else because I feel like sometimes we hold on to something so tightly that it it does, like you said earlier, it creates this like lack of space in our brain to do something else. So one other thing I did learn, or that I did, yeah, that I did learn this year is to play drums. And I don't think I ever told you that, Helen. Or maybe I did. No, I didn't. Yeah. So I kind of kept that under wraps. I really didn't want to share anything with anybody. But to me, it was important for me to learn drums. It's something that I wanted to do back in college. And this year, much like the idea of being an author, I said, this is the year. I want to do it this year. So I am steady playing drums and I love it. I love just the idea of learning something new. I feel like as we get older, there's so many things around us. We really should be learning something new.
Yeah, girl. First of all, you're playing the drums. I gotta hear you. Send me a video, okay? I wanna show. Yeah, the lessons too were pretty big for me because reading books for me, I realized is something I have to do. I have to constantly feed my mind, not just with podcasts and YouTube videos, but with books. There's something about books that just really touches your educational system. I don't know I don't know the better words to say. It really just connects the neurons that need to be connected for you to gain new skills and move further ahead in whatever direction you're trying to get to. And for me, reading books was pretty powerful. That's why I thought I read like 15, which is, it's okay. 10 is a good number. But also, when I let go of the title of the financial strategist journey, I actually gravitated into what I already had been doing, which is the podcast and being an author myself. This summer, I hired a book publishing consultant. So she helped me put together a book proposal, and that was really helpful because it is so long and it takes quite of amount of good time for you to figure out all of the things you need to do and get it together. Basically, it's like a business plan, and a business plan is not just like, one paper. It's a few papers, and there's a lot of going back in history and looking at my journey as an author the last 7 years. So that was really impactful for me because I was relearning who I was. I was relearning my marketing skills. I was really gaining awareness of my own journey, which I didn't realize how amazing and how far I've grown as an author. So that led me into doing some author workshops inside of our Sexy, Successful, and Soul Fed group. And I didn't realize also how easily the information was just flowing from me. So I took two big steps this year. I joined two book and author associations, and I've learned so much just from already joining. I think one I joined 2 months ago, and the other one I joined this month. Wow, I'm really proud of myself for taking steps into the direction of wanting to become more of an expert in the author and book industry, and two, for also getting more organized with our podcasts. Those are two things I've been wanting to do, and once you, like, you said, create more space and you turn inward and you look at what you're already doing and you're like, let me help that. Let me help these things that I'm already doing. Let me help these grow. You're just like, oh my gosh, there's so much I can do with it and help it flourish.
So one other thing that I learned was that, and it's what you're doing, it's what you've already applied, is that we should be working in our zone of geniuses. Okay, so our zones of genius. And you are an author and a podcaster. That is your zone of genius. Mine is the financial strategist. So I enjoy being in this zone. I enjoy, whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm enjoying. And as long as you're enjoying it, Helen, I applaud you because that's whatever your heart calls you to do. You know what I mean? Like you have to do what your heart calls you to do. And I believe that there are listeners out there that are stuck in a job where they have to just work. They have to work because it has to pay the bills. And I understand that. I get that. But I also hope that you find something that you really enjoy doing, something that just calls to your heart, calls to your being, because every one of us has a purpose. Every one of us has something that we are called to do. And I just hope the listeners out there will tune in to that, to their insides, and to their soul, and really listen and be still and find out what is your zone of genius, and gravitate towards that, because that's, I feel like that's the whole meaning of life, is that we're here to be somebody, to be of value to somebody else. But in order for you to be of value, you need to use your gifts, and you need to use whatever it is that's inside of you, all your interests and likes, and use that for good, and to earn a living. I believe that. I strongly believe you can earn a living doing something you enjoy doing.
Yeah. And I think one of the questions that I questioned myself with this year was, what am I going to do with my life? Because when I decided to step away from the financial industry, I didn't, at that moment, I didn't have the answer to the question of what am I going to do with my life? Because the idea of everything is already here hadn't really hit me yet. The universe wasn't like, let's get her, let's tell her all the answers right now. When I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I just knew what didn't feel good. I knew what wasn't making me 100% feeling like I was living my purpose. But I trusted that the answers were going to come. And I've done that a lot in my life. I've been the girl who worked multiple jobs, hated them, but kept going anyways. And it was almost like a volcano all the time. I waited till this volcano exploded within me that drove me to leave certain positions, which I'm glad I did. I don't wish that on anybody though. I hope that you don't wait until you explode or implode to walk away from something that's not serving you, because there's definitely three types of people. There's the ones who wait for that to happen until they do something. There's ones that recognize it and say, okay, this is enough. I'm walking away. And then there's the ones that hold it all together and just keep going and just keep going. And they're just dying inside. And I don't wish the one for you to explode or implode. I don't want you to be that one. And I don't want you to be the person who stays in something forever that's not serving you. I hope you're somebody who recognizes it and walks away. And I know how hard that is. So if that's not something you can do and you have to wait until it explodes or implodes on you, then take it and run. Take it and run, because the answers are coming. What's meant for you is already here. Or if you don't believe that, then it is coming for you. And also, like, you're right. The podcast has been amazing this year. The podcast has been amazing. We have, I want to say, tripled our downloads just by bringing other guests on. And I want to just share this because I'm really proud of us, January. We have done 43 episodes this year. 43 episodes in 12 months. That's pretty fantastic.
Thank you for sharing that. It's important to share statistics. Actually, I wanted to rewind back to what you said about your book proposal, because so Helen's book proposal, I feel, was like this thick. Like it is a layers and layers of information that she had to create or she had to put into this packet. And part of it is also sharing the stats of her social media and the stats of, where her books are, have been sold. And there's a lot of statistics. I can't even remember all of the different nuances that she had to go through, but it is a thick thing. So when she says, "Oh, I just did a book proposal," no, it was a long piece of work for her. So, and it took a lot of time, a lot of effort to create that. But yes, the statistics for our podcast, I feel is pretty amazing. I feel like since I've been able to join you, I love seeing like growth within our own community and just growth within ourselves, because I feel like if we rewind back to the first episode we did together, we are completely different people compared to what we did, how we talk now, and how we do our episodes, how we run it, how we organize it. And I'm just excited to see what 2025 has in store for us, because I can see even more growth. If you and I are already growing individually and we're learning all these different things, then I'm imagining that 2025 will be exponential growth, since we are putting in all this time and all this effort. I don't know how many books I read actually, but I know I have audiobooks and I have actual books. I was just looking at the books yesterday, actually, the books that I have. I opened up my little, because I have a library, like a little nightstand library, but I also have a little container of books that I'm reading at the moment. And then I have another library on the left side, another nightstand. Anyway, I have all these books. And I think you and I talked about it at one point. And we're like, "Oh, I wish we had a Beauty and the Beast library." You know, when she goes into that library, Beast library, and it's this massive amount of books. Books are phenomenal. I love books. They change you. They change your vocabulary. They change the way you think and inspire you to just be a better version of yourself. So I don't know how many books I've read, but I just want to read more. I think that's probably one thing that I wish that I had more in 2025, is to be able to really sit still and read more books or listen to more books. But I feel like if I listen to books, I need to write things down, because then I feel like I could retain it more if I write things down. However, I am reading books on in the car. So I'm like, "Oh, I can't be taking notes in the car." Mental notes.
What do you think has been your biggest lesson this year?
What is my biggest lesson for 2024? My biggest lesson is that I'm still evolving, that I'm still growing. I think that was probably the biggest lesson that I've learned, because I thought I was set. I thought I was good. I thought as a person, I thought, "Oh, I'm okay. I'm doing, the check boxes, right? I'm doing this, this, and this. I'm kind. I'm, professional." And I felt I checked a lot of boxes. But I'm realizing now that there's another level. There's another layer to who January can be. And so that's my biggest lesson, is that I'm not confined to just what you see, right? I'm actually learning more things. So I'm also learning French, because one of our things that we want to do next year is go to Paris, right? So learning French, learning the drums, still listening, and I also want to play hockey. So oh, I can't believe I said that out loud. But I want to play hockey. So that's another thing, another layer. So the biggest lesson for 2024 is that I am still growing. I am still growing. I'm still evolving. And I hope to be, the better version of me next year and then the years to come. What is your biggest goal, or I'm sorry, biggest lesson that you've learned in 2024?
Yeah, I think my biggest lesson this year has been to return to something that I've always thought about, and it's that we're all dying. And when I read this book, briefly, it's called Briefly Perfectly Human by Alua Arthur. She's a death doula. One of the books I actually recently read. I related to a lot of what she said because I've been a seeker my whole life. I've been someone who thinks about death since I was like earliest memory about 9 years old, when I first started going to funerals with my grandmother and then my dad and all my family. So death was always like this thought that I always, always, always thought about. And then when I started losing people really close to me, like my dad, my mom, my brother, and it became this like kind of obsession for me because I always thought, well, what if I die tomorrow? What if I die tomorrow? I always said, what if I die? What if I die? And it was like always in my head. And then I wanted to have these conversations with people, and nobody wanted to have them because that meant you were going to attract it into your life. And when I read her book, it gave me the permission I always wanted to have, that it was okay to talk about it. It was okay to talk about it because the truth of the matter, the fact is that we're all dying, and that death is your teacher of life. And I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I just wanted to hear somebody else say it. And I needed to hear that. And so my big lesson of life was that the wisdom really is within you if you just listen. And just everybody else around in the world are just validating something about what you're thinking about, something you all have already known. If you really think we're all coming from a place of one consciousness, the answers are within you. And everybody, I think you said it, January, everybody is either a mirror or a reflection, right?
It's either a mirror or a message. They're either a mirror of you or a message for
A
you.
mirror or a message. And so, yeah, my biggest lesson this year was just that it's okay. It's okay to just live this human experience. And I would hold on to things like, I would hold on to things so much. Nobody else knew, but I knew. And I was just like, oh my gosh, let it go, girl. You are dying. It doesn't even matter. None of it really even matters. Like, what really is beautiful is what you make beautiful. If you want to be this, you do that. If you want to love this person, you do that. And it brought me back to the main source, the source of everything I've always believed in, which is freedom. Freedom, just to talk about anything, freedom. And I was like, oh my gosh, nothing's sexier than freedom. Oh my gosh. Everything you want is already here. Like, it's stemming from within you. It's stemming from the one consciousness. So I don't know. That was just, it sounds like I said a lot, but basically, like, my biggest lesson was just the remembering overall, the remembering of everything.
Helen, it's so funny. We are so aligned. We are very much aligned. I don't know if I told you, but my high school quote in my yearbook when I graduated in 1995, 1995 was live your day as if it was your last. So death has always been in my mind because I don't know. And I think I just told Sam, I don't know if I'm going to die tomorrow. Who knows? And I told you the other day, I went shopping. I was at Ross and I had my bag in front of me and I was walking across to get to the other side where my car is. And I thought they saw me, but apparently this woman decided to she turned the corner and was really fast and almost hit me. And I had to run actually. So I had to scoot over because she would have hit me. Uh, I felt like my life flashed before my eyes because it could have been a really bad situation. Like I could have been in the hospital or I could have been gone. And the whole idea of living each day as if it was your last and the human experience, that to me is big. That was a lesson for me this year is that what is it? What human experience do I want to embody? What human experience do I want to have in my life? And giving myself grace for even the mistakes, right? Because part of the human experience is making mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna say things, do things that you probably shouldn't have said, and for me, it's a part of the human experience. And that is the one other lesson I'm learning is accepting all of me, all parts of me, which led me to freedom. And it's so funny that that's the name of the podcast because I thought about it too, Helen, just last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's so ironic that the podcast. I'm a part of a podcast that's Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, because a part of freedom is talking about and living everything to be free, free to within means. Okay, I'm not talking like murder, stealing, any of those bad stuff, but I'm free, free to feel and to dress and to, respond in such a free way that is aligns with who you are.
I think that it's really important that we spend time in reflection, not just one day or one week, but consistently throughout the year, because I think that's been really helpful for me. And then, especially this week in between Christmas and New Year's, like, or even the first week of New Year's or the 2025 year, is taking a step back and looking at your past and not just your achievements. Like, one of the things I did spend time with this week is looking back at me as a person, because I'm always looking at the outward life, what my achievements were, what connections I've made, what books I've read. But then I also started thinking about, who am I as a person? And not just like, again, my skills and my growth mindset, but like, am I an active listener? Do I show compassion? Do I listen with compassion? Do I listen with reaction? Or do I listen with understanding? How am I responding to people? How do I respond to my husband? What am I still holding on to? What habits do I need to change? Are those habits something that I've still had since, my teenage years? I'm really starting to see that. And then also, I've been listening to this podcast on body language and the cues of people. I really want to get this woman's book because it's fascinating. It's making me really want to pay attention to the way I talk. And I'm a very fast person. I got major ADHD, but that's no excuse. I still can work on me, even if it's going to take me a lot longer. I'm still up for the challenge because I do want to become a better me. But I'm paying attention to what I'm saying, the tone I say it. Because listening to this podcast, I did not know that a way you talk, and it, especially with your hands, I'm just like, oh my gosh, because you could say one thing and have good intentions behind it, but if the way of your tone and the way that your hands are moving can deliver a whole nother message to the person you're talking to, and it's not their fault because that's the way humans are hardwired to intercept words and body language. I mean, it's mind blowing. But my point is this, is that I'm really starting to take account for myself, the words I'm using, how I'm using them, the tone I'm using, the way in which I deliver a sentence, just everything. And I'm just like, wow, there is so much more to get to know about me that I've been doing surface level exploration with myself. Because, and I'm not saying that learning about your mind, body, spirit is surface level. I'm saying there's more, like you said, there's more layers to yourself. There's way more layers to yourself. And I am really starting to understand that. And I'm just like, I'm my caretaker. I'm my caretaker on this earth. I've got to learn who I am. I want to learn more about myself. I can tell you so much about the people I love in my life, but do I know just as much as I know about them, about myself? And I should know myself more than anybody. So that's definitely something I'm going into 2025 with, is learning more about who Helen is, what she's about, and how I can make her better in so many ways.
Ooh, oh my gosh, yes, that was fire. Exactly, because we all need to learn more about ourselves. I think we, as human beings, are so worried about other people and what other people say, what other people think. Like, there's so many filters that we have in our brain that we forget about ourselves, and we forget about, hey, what does it mean, to be Helen? What does it mean to be January? And I'm on that same path. It's so ironic. I'm on that same path of learning that, hey, I need to date myself more. I need to figure out who I am. And okay, this is the other lesson that I learned this year, because I was sick from May to August, is that sometimes my mind does not align with my body. So my mind will say, you got this, you can do this, you can do this. But my body is like, nope, you cannot do this. You need to calm down. You are old. My my body is aging. Okay, so that is a fact. My body is aging and it is not the same body when I was in my 20s. And so even though my mind is clear and excited and motivated, my body may not be following suit. And that's okay. That's okay. So I did learn that. I learned that I need to listen to my body, listen to the cues of, everything, and really take a break. And I think when you're in your 40s, okay? So when you're in your 40s, you have to take breaks. I know you've heard this. I know you know this, but I hope that in 2025 that we all implement taking self-care on a daily, not just, oh, we're just going to do one self-care a week or one self-care a month. Your body needs it. So please take that time to do
Good
self.
point. Good point. Listen to your body. Yes. I actually was doing yoga this morning and I haven't done yoga in about 6 months. And I used to be a yoga instructor. So I said, okay, I want you to just do 10 sun A salutations and don't even worry about anybody else because nobody's going to see you. Go as slow as you want and just focus on your breath. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I usually just do weightlifting, okay? Let me tell you something. You need to stretch, okay? My body was struggling. I was just like, oh my God, for real, Helen, are we at this point? Yes, we are. Who cares? 10. That's the goal. Do it mindfully because we ain't trying to like rip anything or break nothing. And you will work yourself back up. But this is a really great uh, lesson that you need to take it slow. And if you're not doing it consistently, this is what happens. You need to stretch.
Yes, I was stretching yesterday because so my routine yesterday was triceps and abs. And in the middle of that, I said, you know what, let me just stretch because I was resting. So let me just, do a little girl. Before it used to be very easy, like no problems doing this thing. And I was like, I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? So I have not been stretching. So I will definitely be doing more stretches this year. The other thing that I did learn this year is food, right? And we were just talking about this before we got on, is what are we feeding our bodies? So while before I would shovel like McDonald's and I would shovel, Oreos and whatever into my system, now it's funny, my body doesn't crave that. My body is like, oh, McDonald's, that's plastic, and I know I sent you that Oreos meme and I'm like, oh, I don't want to eat Oreos anymore. I don't know how true that one is, but in any case, it's processed, right? So just putting processed foods, in my system is just no bueno for me. So I try my best to eat as healthy as I possibly can. Obviously, it's very hard. It's, unless you have a farm. If you have a farm, then maybe you can eat like the best foods. But for us that don't have the luxury of having a farm, a chicken, a goat, cow, all of the above, we have to go to the store. So when you go to the store, you got to read those labels. So that's another thing that I'm really trying to apply in my life.
Ooh, we. Well, this has been a fun episode on reflecting on everything. And I feel like it's not enough to do one episode in this year for this past year, but I can definitely say for certainty that we both have grown. It's been an incredible year of ups and downs, which it should be, of changing seasons. And look at us, we're still here, we're still alive, we are still beautiful inside and out. And it's been just such a privilege doing this podcast with you, January, for this last year. And I am so excited about going into 2025 and all the amazing episodes we're going to bring to all of our audience out there. So thank you, first January. And thank you to all of you out there who have left us a review, who have shared our podcast, who has subscribed to our YouTube channel, and who has also listened to our sister station, Your Morning Sauce. which is our shorter podcasts, and also who have purchased our books and supported us by buying us coffee. Thank you so, so much. And before January ends this episode, I'm going to let you know you can buy my book, Nothing Sexier Than Freedom. It is the first edition. It will not be on very much longer for purchase because I'm coming out with a new edition of Nothing Sexier Than Freedom, along with my sequel. And hopefully that happens in 2025 or 2026, but it's definitely going to happen within these next 2 years. So go get your copy. And also, you can find me on Hell of a Journey on Instagram or on Facebook, which is Sexy Freedom Media, or also just Helen Edwards, which you can probably just Google Nothing Sexier Than Freedom, and all of everything about me will come up. January, where can they find you?
Well, first of all, thank you, Helen. Helen, this is amazing. I've never expected how all the growth that we experienced so far. I would just never expect it. I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna do this for fun and just be a part of Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, and it has definitely helped me grow inside internally as a person, and look at all the besties, the new besties that I have. So I'm so happy that I'm a part of Sexy Freedom Media Podcast and a part of your friend group, and just a part of like your circle. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to all the listeners who continue to tune in and listen to our show and to support us. I feel all the love. I feel so much gratitude for everybody that has just given us so much love and support throughout this year and previous years. And we are just so excited to be here to serve you and hope that we're bringing you value. So you can find me, January Liddell, on LinkedIn, January Liddell, Facebook and Instagram, Anchored Financial LLC, and Alina, the Honeymaker series, also on Facebook and Instagram. You can buy my book, Alina the Super Saver. It is a children's book about financial literacy. And this particular book, it's one of 8. So this particular book is about saving. So it talks about saving, it talks about temptation when you're trying to save money. And the next book is about spending, and I introduce another character. All of my books are going to be set here in Hawaii. I will incorporate the different cultures here in Hawaii as well. And of course, the main reason for me writing the book is for financial literacy. And why? Because I feel like I made a lot of financial mistakes growing up, and I would like our younger generation to actually be more healthy with their money choices. And it's, I call it healthy money habits. And that's really my goal for all the readers who pick up my book. So that's where you can find me. Also, without rain, there's no flowers. So when you have all those bad times, in the year, that's okay, because that's a part of the growth, right? You need that rain. And that is it. Thank you all for listening. Aloha.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Want to hear more?
Visit us at sexyfreedommedia.com.